Blizzard fans, welcome back to another episode of the Cold Front Podcast, going into the final week of the 2026 IFL regular season, week 20 coming up this week. I'm Joey Bonadonna. That is BJ Steffen. BJ, I would say at least the Eastern Conference still seems wide open. There's not much to, not too much of consequence for Green Bay this week, but certainly a lot at stake for who they might be playing in the first round of the playoffs, welcoming in as the 4 seed. The West is all locked up, but we will still talk about it. We've got an exciting week of action going into the 3-week gauntlet that is the IFL playoffs. Before we dive into that, let's go into our squall report. There were 5 games this week. They were played, and the teams we expected to win all won, right?
Believe so. I didn't get a chance to watch a whole lot of them. I was out on vacation this weekend, but yeah, and most of them didn't matter. Once San Diego won, that locked up the 1-2 and the 3 seed in the West. Once Arizona won, that locked up the 4 seed. And I don't think any of the Eastern games mattered much. I mean, Tulsa got their first of 2 wins against Quad Cities.
Now, that one did come down to the wire. I think that was probably the best game of the week. Quad City gave them a scare. They had a lead in the fourth quarter, but it just kind of felt that it's the story of Quad City season, that they've been there, they've had the opportunities, they have not been able to finish. Of course, the only times they have been able to finish are against the Green Bay Blizzard and Moline.
That's all right.
So, I digress, but Tulsa gets that win. They clinch their playoff berth. They are now on an 8-game win streak. Going into week 20, they'll face off against Quad City again, this time on the road. That one, again, could be interesting, back-to-back, change of venue. That could pose some issues here going into week 20. But, that was the game of the week. Otherwise, San Diego looked great, to be expected. Tucson could be an interesting point of conversation. The reports of Jerome Johnson, granted, Jerome Johnson obviously goes down with looked like a knee injury against Arizona. You're like, is he going to be available? What's going on? Is Tucson dead in the water here in week 18? No, he looked phenomenal against Naz. They get a win to lock in their playoff berth. As we mentioned, San Diego with a big win, locked up 1, 2, and 3. Tucson, obviously Arizona winning earlier, but Tucson looked great. They didn't look too worse for wear. They come back and get a win that they needed over a team that they lost to 2 weeks before.
And a big win, too.
Yes, and a pretty resounding win as well. So that was what Week 19 gave us, kind of just tying up some loose ends on the Western Conference side. Results that we were anticipating for a couple weeks, but now they just became official. The East, though, the East is still pretty wide open. There's a lot of scenarios that could come into play. Obviously, Green Bay doesn't have much to play for. It doesn't matter win or loss. What happens if who they will play? We will obviously be following that this week and talking about a keys to a Green Bay win. What do they go forward with into this Week 20 matchup? But before we get into all that and breaking it all down, we'll jump into our icebreaker. We'll welcome in our guest from the Jacksonville Sharks this week. All right, here with Anthony Tanza with the Jacksonville Sharks. Anthony, you kind of got an interesting role in the Indoor Football League. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about what it is you do with the Sharks and have been with them for a little bit?
Yeah, so my title is Director of Personnel, so basically that is overseeing the roster, the recruiting, the scouting aspect of the roster, and really that's really what my passion has been growing up and what I wanted to do getting into sports. But I started as an operations intern with the Sharks and worked my way up through there, and then got my way into FAU while I was an undergrad over there doing recruiting, and really fell in love with that passion, building relationships with players and really seeing the players that you really believe in succeed. So that's really where I've came into in this role here.
It's kind of cool. I mean, it kind of have a little bit of a similarity, kind of the young bucks coming around in this league. But you yourself, you're kind of just recent out of school. You're doing some extra years as well. When did that opportunity kind of present itself to you? And as you mentioned, rising up the ranks to getting to that step in front office work that you wanted to get to.
So being like on and off as the ops intern and doing recruiting with FAU, it was the first year in the IFL, and it was at that bye week right before we played Arizona. I think we were at like 1-7. It was just rough times. And then I came back from school. Coach Gibson, I'm blessed to be given that role at that point, and Clay Harrell was appointed the DC at that point. Finished out 4-4, so not too great, not too shabby, right? Average, you'd say 500. And then really finished out my time with FAU, was still kind of doing personnel on the side for coach. You'd see a few guys come along, and then really January going into that training camp of last season, that was really where I really came in full time for the Sharks, and that's where I really started there.
What is it like trying to evaluate players? Obviously, most of the time you're watching guys in the outdoor game, but the transition's obviously difficult. What's it like evaluating those guys and seeing how their skills translate to this style of play?
Yeah, obviously you're looking for guys that are fit outside the norm as far as athletic traits, right? With size, those kind of outliers. Sometimes you do find a unicorn that you see across like our roster, but that along with to the point of us being young, you try to find guys with a chip on their shoulder. Something Jacksonville's had the past 2 years is having the most rookies in the league. Not saying youth is what we look for, but those types of players that are hungry, looking to move up and looking for that opportunity and really ready to show out here.
It's a developmental league, and that's obviously a huge part of the success of the IFL and where it's been over the last couple of years. What are some of your favorite stories of players you've gotten to know and seeing them grow, not only with the Sharks, but maybe going on to take a new opportunity at the next level?
I think one that comes to mind just straight off the bat is Marcus Rogers. We late find in training camp last year, and it was one of those moments where we all agreed we needed to bring this guy in. He'd be a game changer at some point, and he came in, and it took him about 4 or 5 weeks to really get into even the starting rotation. His first start was against Quad City, I think week 4, and even then it took him a few weeks to really catch on until we played that Fisher's game where he made the catch over the wall. And you see him really developing into that game breaker that we all knew that he could be, where other teams are like, oh boy, we got Marcus Rogers this week. To where great, he goes on to his opportunity in Toronto and he makes a few catches and looks real good in there, but unfortunately gets hurt. So luckily we get him, but he still is able to take that opportunity here, and he's taken it and showed out the past few weeks for sure.
Well, hey, like we mentioned, these are these fun stories, and that it wouldn't be a developmental league if there weren't some those obstacles in the way of trying to make that stride. Anthony, I know that this is a grinding into the end of the regular season. Going into the postseason, what are the vibes like for the Sharks? Obviously, a big game this weekend to close out the regular season. Playoff implications are still on the line, but the ticket is punched. What are the vibes like for that squad?
I think really reflecting on this past like 4 game skid we just really wanted to reflect on ourselves and really fix on ourselves and focus on that. And that's what we did this past week. And I think the results really showed against Iowa. I think we kept that same mindset going into this week and heading into the playoffs. Just keep focusing on getting 1% better each day throughout the season, just trying to pick up on each day and build on top of that.
Awesome, Anthony. Well, appreciate your time and your insight and getting to hear a little bit more about your story and your trek through the IFL.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. I appreciate you a lot, everything you do.
Again, appreciate the Sharks for their time this week. It's kind of an interesting scenario where the Sharks have gone in this year. They looked like one of the best teams in the league at the start of June. Mm-hmm. Obviously, an 8-game win streak. They got back on track against an Iowa team that they're a little handicapped a little bit right now. They don't really have an identity offensively. They have playmakers. They have not been able to unlock and unleash those playmakers. But obviously, Jacksonville is able to hold a team to 7 points. If you can do that in an IFL game, that's pretty darn good.
Well, that's happened before with Iowa this season.
So. It has. Obviously, their offense scored 44 points. They realized they have one of the best running backs in the game in Jimmy Robinson.
Took them this long to figure that out.
They unleashed him. So It will be interesting to see how that happens here in the postseason. Going forward, Green Bay, obviously, we'll see him this week as well. But we'll break down the keys for Jacksonville here as we round out the show. Let's jump in now to our Talking Blizz segment. We got Blizzard linebacker Andre White. Welcome into the program. Welcome back to Green Bay. It's been a couple weeks yet, but get an opportunity to talk with Andre in his second season with the Blizz. All right, we're here with Blizzard linebacker Andre White. Andre, second year back in Green Bay, but you came to this team halfway through the year. First off, take me through last year and what that experience was like coming into the team last year en route to going to a championship, and now this year having similar goals in mind of getting back to that dance in Tucson.
So last year came in, it was right after the overtime game in Tulsa. First time in the Rec Center. It was a great experience and very motivational to get out there and play. Had a great camaraderie with the team, and it was amazing, man. It was just good to be a part of the Blizz, be in Green Bay for the first time living here, and just helping that team contribute to having success during the season, leading to the playoffs. Had a successful first and second game, won the Eastern Conference Championship, and then going to Tucson, going to that championship and being a couple inches short. So it's very inspiring for this year, transitioning. It's kind of the same thing, came a little later and helped contribute towards a team that was already rolling, already had a snowball effect, and just adding my abilities and bringing some of my attributes and helping the team contribute to winning this year as well. And same goal, taking it one game at a time, winning these playoffs, winning the Eastern Conference Championship, and then actually securing this championship at Tucson this year.
Linebackers, any position's a tough adjustment in this league, but linebacker kind of has those different nuances to it. Walk me through just how that was adjustment. Obviously, you played some big-time football in college, but what is it like trying to adjust and play linebacker in the IFL?
Oh, man, I feel like my abilities with outdoor help contribute towards my success here. But there was some significant differences with the linebacker having to be stationary at 5 yards and dealing with high motion from the receivers. And, I feel like the linebacker here has to kind of be the glue of, the front end and the back end, being able to come up and play the run, being fast when you come with your run reads, and then also being able to drop back and pass and be able to make some plays and passes as well. So, but it's, if you have the abilities, you be able to make plays, So I feel like I'm athletic enough to be able to do what I need to do to help the team have success.
This game this week coming up against Jacksonville, but after that it's postseason time. What's the mindset, obviously with a bye last week, of wrapping up the regular season on a high note, going into the games that matter that much more in that race back to Tucson?
I think it's extremely crucial. I think winning this last game, treating this as if this is a playoff game and setting the trend for what it shall be for the playoffs is extremely important. And I think the team is all in that mindset to make sure that we're 1-0 at all times and making sure that we're treating this like a playoff, so that when we're in playoffs that there's no knockoff or there's nothing that changes, that we're hitting the thing hard and getting the job done. One
last question for you I always ask. What's one fun fact about you you'd want to share with Blizzard Nation?
Fun fact, I love the nature, I love going on hikes, I love fishing, and I love hunting.
There you go. I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago with someone, but this is a good spot for it. You got a little bit of everything going on.
Absolutely.
Up around here. So
especially with the lakes and everything.
Yeah,
I love
know,
checking
right?
that out sometimes.
Yeah.
Going on the river and checking out that bay as well.
Yeah. Well, awesome, Andre. Appreciate your time. Obviously it's been exciting to have you back here in Green Bay and excited for this postseason push. Appreciate your time and best of luck in Jacksonville.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate Andre again for his time. In quick, you might as well just cut right to the chase. Let's talk about the games that are this week. There are 6 of them. Green Bay, Jacksonville is one of them. We will wrap up our show talking about them. Going into our forecast, first game, San Antonio, Iowa. This is on Friday night in Des Moines. I'll actually be on the call for this, so I'm going to abstain from a pick. But BJ, this is two teams that are eliminated from the playoffs. I believe this is the only matchup this week that we will have 2 teams that are eliminated from postseason. This could, though, be interesting in terms of strength of schedule for someone. What lies here in this matchup? 2 teams that I think they sorely need a win for morale. San Antonio, it's tough. They've had some close games. Arizona probably wasn't one of them, but you look at Vegas, you look at Orlando. Those are games that they had a lead, with under 30 seconds to go, and lost those games. If you win those games, your season looks drastically different. So you could be in a playoff spot right now and fighting for that here towards week 20, and they probably would be favored to be in the postseason if they win maybe just one of two of those games. Unfortunately, that's not how it shook out for the Gunslingers. They are now eliminated. They play an Iowa team on the road that has also had their fair share of struggles. What's your pick this week?
I'm going San Antonio. I think we've just seen more out of them this season. I wouldn't be surprised if Iowa puts up some last-minute energy. I know they want to do better than they did last year. Last year, they were 1-15. They want that second win just to say, we've improved. So I'm going to go with San Antonio, but I wouldn't be surprised if Iowa just gets a jolt of, okay, we need to win this game. This is a must-win game compared to San Antonio where, there's not even pride or anything on the line here. It's just we have to play this to finish out the season.
Tucson, San Diego. This is a matchup that we will see next week as well in the same venue. I'll be curious how the logistics on that work. But Tucson and San Diego play week 20. They will play again in the first round of the playoffs. What does San Diego put forward? What does Tucson put forward? Are they going to play their starters? Obviously, you can't really rest your starters for an entire game. You only have a 22-man active roster. Where are you here? Does Tucson come in and show the offensive growth that they had last week? Or is that just something that's, granted they won at Vegas, but is this an opportunity for them to go get a win against San Diego with some, maybe San Diego runs out a little bit more Kyle Kelly out there, quarterback, as opposed to Nate Davis? Not that Kyle Kelly isn't an electric playmaker in his own. Maybe that answers my question. Where are you here?
I think San Diego's going to win, but I'm going to say it's kind of like I did for the last one. I think Tucson's just going to put up a great game just to get some momentum going into this, right? You said the logistics. They might be there the entire week. I don't know off the top of my head, but they might just play everyone and just say, okay, if we can beat them now, maybe that's the mentality we need to go into next week. And San Diego's got nothing to play for. I mean, neither does Tucson, but I think they need it more for momentum versus San Diego can play Kyle Kelly. Right. I said his name wrong.
No, you got it.
Oh, I got it. Okay. Jeepers. It's been a long trip. But he looked good last week against New Mexico. So, this is really a toss-up, but I think San Diego's, if they play their people, I think San Diego's going to win. I think if Tucson goes all out, I think they'll win.
I'm going to go with San Diego. They're tough to beat at home. I think they have too many electric playmakers to rest their starters and take a step back offensively, especially against Tucson. I mean, they have defensive playmakers. They have proven that. They have won games, not even just because of the fact that they have a new quarterback that they got midway through the season, but their defense has some incredible playmakers. But I'll still go with San Diego. I think their offense is that good regardless. Another one that could be crucial for the Eastern Conference. We'll break down the scenarios once we get into our blueprint. Tulsa Quad City. Tulsa wins. They will have a chance. They would lock themselves into the 2-3 matchup, whether that's at home or whether it's on the road, to be determined. But this is the only game on Saturday that has some consequence towards the playoff picture. Quad City gave them a fight at the BOK Center. I don't think if there was a game that we thought they were going to see fight, we thought it was going to be this one. They showed it on the road.
They did.
Now Tulsa, obviously, with an opportunity to win and a Green Bay win, they could jump to the 2 seed. But does Quad City put up one more last fight to end their season on a high note that has been supremely disappointing, to say the least?
It's hard to play at the BOK. Or not BOK. Well, that too. But it's hard to play in Quad Cities. Yeah. We've seen that. They played really well. Quad Cities, again, like you said, had the lead going into the end of the game. I'm going to go Quad Cities. I think they're able to get it done at home. I think they had Tulsa pretty figured out. And if they could just finish out a little bit better, I think that home energy is really going to help them.
I will go Tulsa.
Okay.
I think that this is a well-oiled machine, no pun intended, and they'll take this win streak into the postseason. I think that this is a team that deserves right now to be playing home football.
Yes. Yep.
Home playoff football, and I think they need another result to go their way, but they've got that chance to do that. It's in their hands to go get a win at Quad City. I don't think they'll roll over that easily. I will go with Tulsa to go get the win on the road. Naz Vegas, this one has no consequence as opposed to the game we just mentioned.
Correct.
3, 2, 1.
Vegas,
I think even what they put forward, Naz gave them a scare in Prescott Valley. I think Vegas has shown that. I think they've got a little bit of that off their shoulders.
Yes.
I think they're playing a little bit more freely, especially against a team that we saw against New Mexico on the road. I think they played really well against New Mexico there. I think they'll do the same at home against Naz. The big one, essentially a playoff game. Orlando Fishers. This is going to be the Sunday game, kicking off before Green Bay's game, which is Sunday Night Indoor Football. But this one has the more consequence to it. Orlando Fishers, depending on the result of Tulsa's game on Saturday, this could be just for the 4 seed and the right to come to Green Bay. Orlando has looked great at times. They have looked less than stellar on the road. Fishers, they've won 3 of 4. It was a little dicey against Quad City. It was their one loss was obviously 83-50 at home against a high-powered Orlando Green Bay offense. Now they're going against Orlando that has that high-powered offense and has that run game that can attack them like Kyrie Robinson did. Do they do enough to shore that up at home and go to the postseason for the first time in franchise history?
I don't think so. I'm going to go Orlando. I think, like you mentioned before, teams who feel like they deserve to be in the playoffs, I think Orlando feels like they should be in this more than Fishers has. Fishers, they had their slump like they did last year. They're luckily enough to be in playoff picture going into week 20. They control their own destiny. They win and in, but I think Orlando just gets it done, and I think they're the better team.
So we will break down what your prediction is. Let's just make this simple. I'm going to go with Fishers.
Okay.
I'm gonna. If they're in, and they're coming to Green Bay.
Yep.
They get the 4 seed, and they will be making the trip here to play Green Bay for a 4th time this season. As we've laid it out, I picked Fishers and I picked Tulsa. Obviously, we won't know what looks if Green Bay wins, it would be Green Bay against Fishers. Tulsa, Jacksonville at Tulsa, Fishers at Green Bay. That would be my prediction. Yours, however, would have Tulsa coming to Green Bay first round, which could, in my opinion, would feel like an Eastern Conference Championship type game. And then you would have Orlando at Jacksonville. That is how fickle this is right now. There is so by the time we kick off on Sunday, the Green Bay and Jacksonville kick off, we will know what things will look like. We will probably know who is coming to the Rest Center. It's just the issue of where that other game will be played. This will be interesting to say the least. I think every single one of those teams has a chance to go and win this thing, at least this week, the game that they have ahead of them this week. I think everyone can win, everyone can lose. I mean, that's any given Sunday, literally in this situation. One of them's on Saturday, but I digress.
Close enough.
This is a game that I think everyone's got an equal chance to go out there and improve and shake up this playoff picture. I kind of went the boring way. You're going a little bit of the fun way, and you'd bring a team that's pretty good on the Tulsa Oilers into Green Bay. I'm going with Fishers in the first round, and it's hard to beat a team 4 times too. So,
true, very true.
They would be kind of polar opposites. Green Bay's only played Tulsa once. They haven't welcomed them into the Rest Center at all this year. Green Bay would be welcoming them in for a 3rd time. So again, to break it down, for Fishers to come to Green Bay, all that needs to happen is a Fishers win. For Orlando to come to Green Bay, they need a win over Fishers on Sunday and Tulsa to win over Quad City. For Tulsa to come to Green Bay, it would be an Orlando win on Sunday and Quad City to beat them on Saturday in Moline. There is still a scenario out there, I think right now, I don't know what it is, it's something to do with strength of schedule and tiebreakers down the ladder, that Jacksonville could potentially come to Green Bay. I don't know what it is. Then again, we will have a little bit more clarity by the time games kick off on Sunday, what that last playoff picture will look like. So that is the matchup that we've got going up ahead. Let's talk about the Sunday night indoor football game, Green Bay against Jacksonville. We've seen Jacksonville come to Green Bay once. What did you see from that game? What has changed? Obviously, the big one is the quarterback. It's going to be a different quarterback than who started the game the last time the Sharks were here. The Sharks are now 1-3 with said starting quarterback in Sammy Edwards, who came in and made some big plays against Green Bay that first time. Is it enough? Are they able to slow down Green Bay's offense? Does Green Bay, do they have their starters out for a full 60 minutes? I have no idea what that strategy is right now.
Going off of what I know about our coaching staff, they're going to play to win. I mean, that's just the mentality we have. Yep. We're not gonna bench everybody. Yep. I mean, we saw Kyrie not play last week against Iowa. I mean, like I said before, last week he was running around more than he probably was on the field. But I wouldn't be surprised if Liam starts the first half, kind of like how we saw last week against Iowa. I wouldn't be surprised if Kyrie plays, just to get them warm, right?
Especially, again, that's the tough thing is that most of the stars only played it first half against Iowa. They had a week off this week, and you afford to do that again this week. When after this, if you lose, it's the end of your season. Can you afford to do that, or you got to keep guys warm? That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I assume our defense is going to basically be starters all game. That's pretty typical. I don't think we saw a whole lot of switching out against Iowa. So it'll really be the first half. We saw Green Bay explode in the second quarter versus Jacksonville, took a lead and never gave it up. So I think if we do the same thing, we have all our starters the first half, put up a hopefully double-digit lead going into halftime. I think Green Bay rests everybody and hopes their defense is good enough to keep them ahead. But it will really depend on the coaching and see how we play, because Jacksonville's fighting to win this, and Green Bay's...
Yeah, if Jacksonville wins, they've got the second seed locked up.
Yep.
Point blank simple. So they obviously have something to play for. They're not going to roll over. They want a home playoff game just as much as Tulsa probably does. So that's the situation at hand, that Jacksonville ends up with that scenario. Third year in a row that Green Bay is going to Jacksonville to end off the regular season. Both of them have been tight games. Jacksonville has obviously had something to play for in just about all of them. Maybe not that first one, but that point. Game last year, they're still playing for potential seeding. This will be interesting. This will absolutely be interesting to see how this week shakes out. It does not have much consequence for Green Bay, but
it's a good feeling to have.
It is, and considering what we mostly expected this game to be a few weeks ago, it's not deflating. It's a weird feling to know that this game doesn't really have much consequence for Green Bay
in a good way too.
Right,
yeah.
Correct, and it definitely does for Jacksonville. But like you said, I think this staff plays to win. So I think that they're going to put their best foot forward to go win their 14th game of the season, which would tie a franchise record for wins in a season. It would be the most in a regular season by a Green Bay squad. That would be a pretty good thing to hang your hat on going into the postseason. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up? Next week, they mean that much more.
Let's go 10-0 at home.
That would be big. It's 9-0, 10-0, Tucson.
Yeah.
Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Cold Front Podcast. The Blizzard on the road Sunday in Jacksonville to round out the regular season before coming home to kick off the playoffs next week. That is BJ Steffen. I'm Joey Bonadonna. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. We'll sign off as we always do. Go Blizz.